Hi, it's Miss Ann here again, and I'm here to do the Bible story for this day in Vacation Bible School. Our story comes from both the Old and the New Testament, Mark chapter 12 and Deuteronomy chapter 6, and it's called the Greatest Commandments, which are also called God's laws. And remember, we talked about how we needed to be physically strong and healthy. So this is where that point is made here. See what you think about being healthy and how it affects this story. We are pondering what it means to care for ourselves. See? Sometimes we are given the message that caring for ourselves is selfish. But we worry that others might think we don't care enough for them. But it's important to have love and compassion for ourselves, that God even included it as one of the greatest rules to live by. Today's story highlights something simple, yet often forgotten. A commandment to love God, love our neighbors, and yes, love ourselves. As we listen to the story, think about what you feel when you hear Jesus say, love and care for others as yourself. Why is it important to care for yourself? What does it look like for you? Jesus and the disciples spent a lot of time in Jerusalem. One day he was at the temple, a place where people gathered to worship God, and he was teaching and telling stories. A lot of people listened eagerly, but many had questions. The temple leaders and elders were unsure of him and asked, "Who gave you the power to do and say these things?" Some were jealous and wanted to trick him, so they asked, "Should the people pay taxes?" Others were worried and asked him, "What happens in the resurrection and the afterlife?" Then one temple leader was curious about Jesus. He saw that Jesus was wise and kind, and he asked him, "Which one of God's laws," remember we said laws and commandments were the same, "which one of God's laws is the most important?" Jesus answered, "The first is what we all know. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and all of your mind and all of your strength." Before the temple leader could ask more, Jesus went on. "And the second is, love your neighbor as yourself. These two are the most important of God's laws." So the leaders who questioned Jesus were concerned with so much. They focused on things that weren't related to loving God, weren't related to loving neighbors, and weren't related to loving ourselves. They don't understand or trust Jesus, how he heals, teaches, loves, and how the people follow him. So they asked Jesus, "Where did you go to become a teacher?" Because they didn't understand where he got his power and knowledge. They asked him about his political views, hoping he would choose one side and make at least some of the people angry if he didn't choose their side. They asked him about complicated things like the afterlife because they thought he wouldn't be able to give a good answer. And then the people would become unsure of him too and stop following him.